Nebraska and Matt Rhule have agreed to a 2-year extension, going to keep Matt Rhule in Lincoln. This is massive because he's been tracking the coaching carousel. Penn State opens up. Where did Matt Rhule go to school? Penn State. What do we know about head coaches? They want to get back to where they went and played and bring that place to the glory they think it should be at. Matt Rhule says, I appreciate you, Penn State. However, I got something working here in Lincoln. I'm going to go ahead and stay here for at least 2 more years. This is massive for a number of reasons. We'll break it all down. Before we get to that, though, 1, this is presented by BetMGM. 2, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. Nebraska, you're staring down the barrel of potentially a college football playoff berth. We'll break down your schedule here in a minute, but if you want to be locked in to the nth degree when it comes to college football and your Huskers, make sure you are subscribed. So here's my first thought upon hearing this news that Nebraska had agreed to an extension with Matt Rhule. We're going to get to see what Matt Rhule year 4 looks like. Because what were people always talking about with Matt Rhule when he took the job at Nebraska? What's something we talked about? Hey, first year, growing pains. Second year, better. Third year, have that pop year. Now, Nebraska, they got USC, at UCLA, at Penn State, and they host Iowa. If you win out, you're a college football playoff team that would absolutely qualify as the pop year we all signed up for. You're in the college football playoff. Vibes are immaculate heading into next season. But Matt Rhule, historically speaking now, has pivoted after that third year to a different job. And it's hard to blame the guy. Like when you take Temple to the heights he took him to, yeah, you take a different job and you go to a quote-unquote better job at Baylor and take Baylor to different heights. Have Baylor playing for a Big 12 title his third year as the head coach out there. After they were people were talking about Baylor ceasing to exist as a football program altogether when he took that job over. After his third year there, he goes to Carolina, and things go how they go in the NFL, but you understand what I'm saying. We have yet to see Matt Rhule push a place up to the heights of the top of their conference or in that top tier of the conference and then stick around after that third season to push past the peak that he had gotten them to, if you're catching what I'm saying there. So I mentioned that because a lot of people, if they have qualms with Matt Rhule as a head coach or they don't think he's that great of a head coach, usually you hear them say something like this. Well, yeah, he's a good head coach, but who is he really beaten? They throw the record against ranked teams at you and talk about all the games he's fallen short in. And I'm like, yes, I hear what you're saying, and we shouldn't dismiss that. But at the same exact time, it's a really hard thing to beat ranked teams in college football. And you see all these coaches that are, being talked about as, oh, well, they couldn't win the big one. They said that about Kirby for a long time, about beating Bama. Said the same thing about Ryan Day for a long time. Matt Rhule, is he ever going to win a national championship? I think that's probably something on his to-do list. You talk about his record versus ranked teams, though. He's taking over like complete rebuilds. Like he's taking over 1 to 2 win programs and having them in their third year competing for conference championships. Okay, so it was common sense would tell you there is better things ahead of Matt Rhule after year 3 when they get into year 4, year 5. And we're going to get to see what that looks like here at Nebraska, which I think is phenomenal. Now, Nebraska, when you zoom out even further now, I think is poised to make some big moves with Matt Rhule as their head coach here. Because now you can pitch stability. If you were negatively recruiting against Nebraska, I have to imagine one of the things that's being said is, well, how long is Coach Rhule going to be there? Check the track record. He usually leaves after year 3. You're not able to say that anymore. Because if you say that, you get this contract extension thrown back in your face, hopefully from a recruit and their family. Second thought here, I think the fact that he signs this extension, the way that I'm reading this is I don't think Matt Rhule signs an extension like this unless he's guaranteed a certain amount of support from a resource perspective on the NIL front and the building the roster front. Have to believe that's a part of this whole thing. Because Matt Rhule now, with the way that he's pushed Nebraska to where they're at and where they were at previously, having the bowl drought and all those things, now you got one of the top quarterbacks out of the high school level playing for you, and he's in year 2 and all those things. I think that he had massive leverage to demand more from Nebraska. And not saying Nebraska wasn't trying to give him what he needed already, but when you have the opportunity to go somewhere else, or at least the perceived potential to go somewhere else, you have those cards dealing with, I promise you, Matt Rhule, if I'm reading this correctly, had a conversation of, okay, if I'm going to stay here, that's great. You can pay me what you want to pay me, extend me, whatever, but I need the backing from y'all to go toe-to-toe with the rest of this conference to get our roster to where it's supposed to be relative to our expectations here at Nebraska, which is Big Ten championships, college football playoff berths, and then taking a stab at a national title run every so often out there in Lincoln. So the reason why that's important, if he has the resources that I'm assuming he's going to have here based on this extension, Nebraska is going to be able to do some real legwork in closing the gap between them and the rest of the top of the Big Ten Conference. And that's the whole thing here. The thing has never been, can Nebraska have the best roster in the Big Ten? It's, can they get in the room? Can they be in that Tier 1 room? Maybe they're not better than Ohio State on paper, better than Oregon on paper, but are they good enough to where when you line up on Saturdays, it's not night and day difference between who Nebraska has on their roster, who Ohio State has on their roster. Just give us a puncher's chance is, I think, the sentiment here for Nebraska going forward. And I believe now with these resources behind Matt Rhule that I'm assuming he's going to have here with this extension, I think that's now something you can count on if you're a Nebraska fan and something Matt Rhule is going to count on here to build his teams in the future. So that's the Nebraska side on this. I'd be remiss if I didn't at least touch on the Penn State side of this, because I have to believe your two most realistic options were Curt Cignetti and Matt Rhule when you fired James Franklin. At least that was probably what the list said that you had written down on the yellow notepad when you made the decision to move on from James Franklin. So now both those individuals have signed extensions at their respective places. Where do you go from here? I think you bring the house and try to sign Matt Campbell or try to get Matt Campbell away from Iowa State. It's been a matter of he has overachieved at Iowa State. He's done great things at Iowa State. Is he really going to stay there? He kind of seems to have a Big Ten personality of sorts. Do they get him away from Iowa State? I have no idea, but that would be the one name I would circle and say, go after that dude and make him say no. Like I just said, personality fits with what Penn State needs. The resume fits with what Penn State needs. I think if you can get him away from Iowa State, that is a home run and a half, especially with Matt Rhule and Curt Cignetti now no longer an option for you to go and grab to be your next head coach. So this is massive for Nebraska. The carousel continues to turn for the folks at Penn State, and we'll see what happens there. But Nebraska staring down the barrel of what I just said, USC at UCLA at Penn State hosting Iowa to finish the season. If you can beat USC, maybe this is kind of the momentum you needed here for your team to kind of get extra locked in for this game. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but this is big for Nebraska. All their goals in the preseason are still ahead of them, and looks like we're going to get to see them have a couple of stabs at those goals in the future with Matt Rhule signing this extension. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. How you feel about this one if you're a Nebraska fan. Have to imagine pretty juiced. Make sure you're subscribed. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. We will keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.